It's 2:15 in the afternoon. The shift ends in 45 minutes and a critical production line is stopped. The team is already behind schedule. The supervisor arrives at the machine and the operator starts to explain. Well, we heard a strange sound at the changeover and I think the supervisor interrupts them. We do not have time for guesses. Reset it and get the line running. Within 5 minutes, production is starting to move again. The supervisor, they're remembering the solving of the problem. The operator remembers being interrupted. The line restarted, but the team, they stopped talking. That 2-minute interaction taught everyone something dangerous. Uncertain information is not welcome here. The next quality or safety concern may now remain hidden and it becomes very expensive. This is what we call the leadership lag. Once you recognize it, you may never look at your reactions the same way again. I'm Joyce Hughes from Soaring Leadership. After more than 30 years in manufacturing leadership and now coaching leaders and teams, I have seen this pattern time and time again. A leader believes the team has an attitude, accountability, or communication problem, but sometimes the team is protecting themselves from the leader's reactions. That does not mean the leader is incompetent. It actually means the opposite. They are experienced, committed, and a person everyone depends on when something goes wrong. Yet under pressure, their speed becomes the big interruption. Their decisiveness becomes control, and their high standards translate into fear. Before this video ends, I'm going to give you one question that may reveal a leadership blind spot no assessment will ever show you. Leadership lag is the delay between what the leader does today and how the team behaves later. Today, you dismiss a concern. Next week, an employee hesitates before reporting another one. Today, you solve a problem yourself. Next month, your team waits for you before making a routine decision. Today, you become defensive when someone questions your plan, and next quarter, improvement ideas disappear. The immediate problem was solved, sure, but the delayed damage remains invisible. Leadership usually judges their behavior by their intention. However, your teams experience the impact. The supervisor intended to create urgency. The operator experienced dismissal. The gap is where the leadership lag begins. Now, you may be thinking, are you saying decisive leadership is a problem? No. Manufacturing needs leaders who act quickly and protect the standards. The problem begins when the strength is used without your awareness. If you are decisive, pressure may cause you to decide before you actually listen. If you value urgency, you may become impatient with someone who needs 30 seconds more to explain. If you're technically strong, you may answer questions your team needs to work through themselves. Self-awareness is not simply knowing I'm direct. It is asking, what does my directness produce when the pressure rises? Self-knowledge describes you. Self-awareness reveals your impact. Watch for these 3 warning signs. The first is the same conflict follows you. You change your teams, but the people in it are still not proactive. Communication is still too late, and your team waits for direction. Not every conflict is your fault, but a repeating pattern deserves your attention. The second warning sign is often like an agreement. People stop challenging you. A normally vocal employee becomes quiet when you enter the conversation. Silence is not always agreement. Sometimes it's a caution. The information has not disappeared. It's moved somewhere where you can't hear it. The third warning is that the pressure changes your leadership style. When things go well, you listen and you involve people. When production falls behind, you interrupt, take over, and issue sharp instructions. Pressure often reveals a pattern that was already there. The real question is not, am I a good leader when the conditions are normal? It's, what version of me does my team experience when the pressure rises? Recognizing the patterns is not enough, though. You need a way to interrupt it. At Soaring Leadership, we use the leadership mirror method. M is for monitor your signals. Notice when your jaw tightens, your shoulders tense, or you start talking faster and you have that urge to take control. Pause and take a deliberate deep breath. Slow down your speaking. 3 seconds can prevent the reaction that affects the whole shift. I is identify the trigger. Ask, what exactly just triggered me? Was it the missed target? Was it being questioned? A fear of being blamed? Or a feeling that you were losing control? When you name the real trigger, the reaction becomes easier to manage. R is recognize your story. Your mind may say, they don't care, I have to do everything, or they are challenging my authority. but your first interpretation is not automatically true. Ask yourself, what do I actually know? What am I assuming? And what information am I missing? Curiosity slows down your judgment. That is when better information starts to emerge, but it's where the method becomes uncomfortable. R is for request feedback. Do not ask, do you think I'm a good leader? Most employees will give you what you want to hear. Ask something very specific. Here's the question that I promised you at the beginning. When pressure rises, what do I do that makes it harder for you to tell me the truth? Then pause and listen. Do not explain your intention. Do not defend the pressure that you are under. What you do next in the few seconds ahead determines whether the person will give you honest feedback again. O is for own your impact. You might say, I wanted to create urgency, but I can see that I shut down the conversation. Or you could say, I thought I was helping, but I took ownership from you. Your intention matters, but intention does not erase the impact. Ownership of your impact does not weaken your authority. It proves that accountability applies to you too as the leader. R is respond intentionally. Instead of immediately giving that quick answer, you can ask, what risk concerns you? What have you checked already? What support do you need from me? Instead of taking over, help the employee think. Awareness without a different response is only an observation. Leadership growth happens when you notice changes of what you do next. Now, let's return to that production line from the beginning. The schedule is still behind. The pressure has not disappeared. This time, the supervisor notices their tight jaw and the urge to interrupt. One breath, then the supervisor says, walk me through what you heard after the changeover. The operator explains that unusual sound. The supervisor then asks, what have you checked already? And the maintenance adds another piece of information. Together, they identify a mechanical concern before it becomes a larger failure. The line stays down for a few more minutes, but the team learns something valuable. Urgency does not make information unwelcome. People speaking up protect production, and a leader can remain decisive without becoming dismissive. The visible production line eventually restarts. The invisible production line begins producing something different: courage, ownership, and trust. So for the next 5 days, identify one moment each day where you have an emotionally strong reaction. Write down 5 things. What happened? What did I feel? What story did I immediately tell myself? What did my team experience from me? What response could have created a better result? Do not analyze your entire leadership style. Look for one reaction a day. Once you recognize a pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you can see it, you can begin to change it. Leadership begins with the mirror before the megaphone. A question is not whether your team has noticed your patterns, because they have. The question is whether you are willing to notice them too. Go ahead and download the Self-Awareness Pocket Reference using the link below and begin that 5-day self-assessment sprint during your shift. Tell us in the comments, when pressure rises, what pattern appears most often for you? Is it interrupting, taking over, becoming defensive, avoiding a conversation, or something else? In the next part of this emotional intelligence series, we will answer the question self-awareness creates. What do you do in the 10 seconds after you notice your trigger, but before it becomes a poor behavior? That is self-management. You cannot manage what you cannot see, and you cannot lead others effectively until you understand what it's like to be led by you.